Every year, people seek refuge in United States of America because they either fear persecution in their home country or they've already suffered persecution in their home country because of race, religion, memberships to certain groups, or even political opinions, to name a few. Asylum seekers or refugees are authorized to work in United States of America. But the I-9 compliance part is something that the employers must be very mindful of. One small mistake can incur a loss of their compliance status with the federal government, federal agencies. And that's exactly why today on the show we're going to be discussing about asylum and I-9 compliance. Hello and welcome to Thursdays Live with Chugh. My name is Neha Mahajan. I'm the Business Development and Outreach Manager here at Chugh LLP Attorneys and CPAs. And you're joining us live on YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn. Joining us from Virginia office is our attorney, Ishan Anand. And from our Santa Clara office is Associate Attorney Priyanka.Sule. Hi there, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting us.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, Priyanka, I have heard this many a time. People almost interchangeably use asylum and refugee in the same sentence. So, just for the benefit of our audience, what is the difference between asylum and refugee?
Okay. So a refugee is a person who is outside his or her country of nationality and is unable or unwilling to return to his home country based on, say, persecution based on race, religion, nationality, political opinion, or membership in a particular social group. So a refugee receives the permission to enter in the US, and these people already have a refugee status when they enter in the United States. Whereas an asylee is a person who meets the definition of refugee, but he arrives in the US and he seeks for asylum at the port of entry.
All right, all right. So, my next question is every asylum seeker and refugee able to get an employment authorization document, or only a certain few are?
Yes, everyone, like asylum seeker as well as refugee, both are eligible for EAD card. So for a refugee, they are eligible. They may be authorized to work as soon as they enter in the United States. Whereas for an asylum seeker, the asylum seeker has to wait for 150 days after applying for the asylum application, the I-589 application form. And once the 150 days are completed, they are eligible to apply for the EAD card. But again, they can receive the EAD card only after the 180 days. So this is the commonly called 180-day asylum EAD clock.
Okay, so not 150, 180 days. Right?
Yeah, so they can apply after 150 days,
Okay,
and
got it.
they will be eligible to receive it after 180 days.
All right. So, Ishan, my next question is for you. To apply for this authorization for the EAD, right? What do they need? What kind of documents do they need? Like, what is it that an asylum seeker or a refugee can be bringing with them to make sure that they get the EAD?
So let's start with refugee, because refugee is a bigger term.
Yeah.
So all the asylees are refugee, but not all refugees are asylees. So refugees come after their refugee status is approved. They enter with an approval.
Yeah.
So when they enter the US, the CBP officer stamp their passport with an I-94 that says employment authorized. Okay, so refugee enters with a status, and when they have a stamp that says I-94 and the I-94 says that you are employment authorized, they can show that I-94 to their employer and they can start working for initially 90 days.
Okay.
But then because their packet, their refugee packet has EAD application already sent out to USCIS, so their work permit comes in like 90 or 2-3 months. So it's an expedite process. But anyway, employers cannot refuse them the employment opportunity, or they cannot say that you are not authorized to work, because they are authorized to work indefinitely. with that
Okay.
I-94 stamp when they enter the US. Now comes to asylees. Now the asylees are who are in the US or at the borders, any port of entry, and
Mm-hmm.
they seek refuge, meaning all asylees are refugee in one sense, but
Right.
not all refugee are not asylee.
Right.
So they seek refuge in the US when they come to the port of entry or they are already in the US.
Right.
So when they apply for asylum, they are not called asylees, they are called asylum seeker.
Okay.
So when they apply and then their application is pending for a certain period of time, which is 180 days, then they can get the employment authorization. Then
All
they
right.
have to show that employment authorization to their employers. They can
Right.
start working after that. Now, there's again a difference in employment authorization card, which is um, A5, I think, A5 for asylees who already have asylum status, meaning asylum is approved. That's A5 EAD. And there's another C8. C8 category is for people who have asylum pending.
Okay.
So suppose your asylum is pending for 180 days, and then you are getting the EAD, you will get an EAD which is C8.
Okay.
And once your asylum is approved, then you will get I-94. And then if you apply for EAD, and you will get EAD card, which would be A5. Same for refugee. I think A4 is for refugee. So
All
Yes,
right.
so
yes.
A is category is already, like it's a better category because you have status. Asylum seeker, they don't have status.
All right. And I see Priyanka, nodding her head in affirmation. Yes, I think A4 is what's needed for a refugee.
Refugee.
Refuge,
Right.
yeah.
And A5 for an asylum seeker, right?
It's
So,
asylee.
oh, for the
It is
Asylee,
asylee.
asylee.
All right. All right.
yeah.
See, it's confusing to a to a layman like me. It's very confusing. That's why we need attorneys, to explain the differences, which might seem not so evident otherwise. But coming back to my original question, what kind of a documentation do they need to even apply for an EAD?
So same thing. So I-94. Suppose if we talk about refugee, so employment authorization document, they already sent the application with the refugee packet because they don't do the US RAP, United States Refugee Admission Program. There's like, I don't know the exact
Yeah.
definition, but US RAP and then United Nations uh, work concurrently with refugees outside the country because they enter with the status. So they are
Mhm.
outside. They are not at the borders. They are not inside the country. They're outside some maybe countries like Syria, maybe countries like Ukraine, where there is war going on or where there is civil unrest. So they go to these organizations, register themselves. If they are approved, then they send the packet, the entire packet, and the packet already has employment authorization application.
Right.
So when they enter, so CBP officer just stamps the passport, say I-94, which is employment authorized, meaning they're authorized to work.
Right.
EAD will come eventually because application is already sent out.
Okay.
For asylum seekers, they have to send application after the pendency of 150 days. They can apply, but they
Okay.
will not get before 180. So they can
Okay.
apply after 150. So once they apply, then 3-4 months depends. I have seen pending asylum candidates waiting for their EADs for a year or so. Previously, like year or so before, during pandemic.
Right.
So one thing very important. Recently, they included C8 category into uh, automatic
Extension.
extensions.
Are
All
you
right.
referring to the
So
540-day automatic extension? Is that what you're referring to?
exactly now it's 540 days, but earlier it was 180. And the thing is, earlier C8 was not even included in the automatic extension program. Meaning, if you already have an EAD, right? If you apply for a renewal, you will not get EAD unless it's approved. Meaning you are
Okay.
not automatically your EAD is not automatically extended for C8. But for asylees, on the other hand, you don't even need to apply for EAD. You can get one, you
Right.
can apply for it, but you need only I-94. And that I-94 says asylum indefinite, meaning nobody can deny you employment as long as you have this.
Okay. All right. That's
Yeah.
good to know. All right. I just wanna, for all of you who are joining us right now and wondering what we are talking about. Well, first of all, welcome. Welcome to Thursdays Live with Chugh. And the topic today that we're talking about is asylum and I-9 compliance. So if you're an employer, and wondering whether you should be extending a job offer to someone who has a work authorization, who's here on an asylum or is a refugee, what should you do? What kind of a compliance should you be worried about? Well, this discussion is for you. You're watching us live on YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn. And a little disclaimer, the discussion today is for informational purposes only and does not create an attorney-client relationship. We're joined by our attorney, Ishan Anand, from our Virginia office, and Associate Attorney, Priyanka.Sule, from our Santa Clara office. All right, so Priyanka, next question is for you. There are two types of asylum seekers, and correct me if I'm wrong. Which of the two can actually apply for an EAD, or can both apply for an EAD?
Yes, so there are two type of asylum seekers. One is there are two processes as such. So one is affirmative asylum and the second one is defensive asylum. So affirmative asylum, the case goes to the USCIS office. So it can get approved in the USCIS office itself. If it doesn't get approved, it gets referred to the EOIR, Immigration Court. And that's where the defensive asylum comes. So in a defensive asylum application, the case goes directly to the court.
Okay.
And both these asylum seekers, they can apply for the EAD card.
All right. And the process is simple, like Ishan
I would,
explained
I
earlier.
would like to add
Yes.
some things here.
Yeah.
Basically, suppose you are entering through the borders, right? Suppose you are entering illegally. All right. And the moment you enter, the CBP officer catches you. They say, okay, here's your NTA meaning notice to appear.
Yeah.
And they say, okay, come in front of the judge and then we will, start removal proceedings against you. Okay. So the moment you have the NTA, notice to appear in front of the judge, then they come to the attorneys and then attorneys prepare asylum application. That's a defensive asylum because right now, you are in removal proceedings. USCIS, CBP, ICE, they are trying to remove you from the country.
Right.
And now we are filing a defensive asylum application on your behalf. Application is the same, but it just goes to the immigration judge.
Okay.
And you are in deportation proceedings. Now, suppose you are in the US, and then and also you have to apply for asylum within 1 year of entry.
Okay.
If you don't apply in 1 year, then you are barred from asylum unless there are unforeseen or exceptional circumstances, which then you are eligible. So for affirmative asylum, then you are in the country. Maybe you have a status. Maybe you are not in deportation. Then you apply for asylum with USCIS, right? And then the only way how it goes is basically when USCIS decides your asylum case and says you are not eligible for asylum, then they give you another chance.
Okay.
That now you go to the judge and prove that you are eligible for asylum. Meaning now you are technically not in removal proceedings, but you get another chance in front of the judge. And then if the judge decides that you are not eligible, then they will remove you.
All right. All right. Thank you for
Yeah.
clarifying on that, Ishan, and thank you for adding on to it, actually. Now, you mentioned the I-94, the importance of I-94 in obtaining the EAD, the work authorization. Does this I-94 ever expire?
It expires for asylum seekers, not for asylees or refugee. I would like to add one case.
Sure.
Actually, what happened basically one time, a client came to us and the client says, my employer during COVID times, my employer is asking for EAD. And I was like, you don't need EAD. because you are an asylee. You have I-94 stamp. And they said, no, they are saying, no, get me the EAD card. We cannot, hire you. So I was like, okay, I'll send you a letter. So I created a letter and, explained the difference between asylee and asylum seeker. Basically, the thing that EAD card is only needed for asylum seekers, not asylees.
Right.
So basically, they did not, they did not react to that. They said, okay, we don't know, because HR sometimes they don't know actually what they need. They think it's all the same thing. So they need EAD. They need to see if somebody is employment authorized. So
Yeah.
we actually had to file a suit against them. And that's when they paid the back wages and they paid all the
Right.
money to him and they reinstated his employment after seeing that. And then we went to the company, we explained them what's the process, and then they hired us for I-9 and things like that.
Right.
So very carefully. So for employers, it's very important to know the difference between the two. Asylees do not need EAD; they are already authorized to work. Refugees do not need EAD; they are authorized to work. On the other hand, asylum seeker who have pending asylum, meaning they haven't received the status of an asylee, they are trying. So anybody can try. I can try, but it doesn't mean that I'm an asylee. So for that, if you have that pending status, that means you
Right.
did not prove yourself as a refugee, because every asylum seeker has to first prove that he is or she is a refugee,
Right.
and then other things. So if you haven't proved that, so then you need authorization to work. And previously, it was not automatically extended. Meaning, if you apply for extension, unless you have another card, you cannot work.
Okay. All right. No, thank you. Thank you so much for explaining that in such great detail with this, example that you handled yourself. This is, I feel this is such a common mistake that can happen, right? And if there's an employer, if there's an HR representative, and you do not know, because it's very easy to kind of just just presume that this is that you would need a certain documentation for a certain kind of a case or for a certain kind of an employee, and that's exactly why this discussion is so important. If you are an employer who hires and employs asylees, asylum seekers, refugees, this discussion is very, very important for you. Now, Isha, next question is that many asylees or refugees may not have a passport or a birth certificate, right? To kind of just show their or to show their nationality. I'm just imagining the if someone is running away in dire situations and seeking, asylum at the border here. What kind of or what type of a proof must they provide?
Proof of what? Meaning like to get a EAD
Right.
card?
Not
Same
just an
thing.
EAD card, but even to prove their own case, right?
Affidavit. So what happens generally, the onus is on us to prove the nationality and all those things. If you don't have those documents, you may have affidavits. You
Okay.
may have friends and family saying that we know this person, and then this person is from this country, his date of birth is this. We know this person for so long. He has good moral character, and so
Right.
on. So there are different ways, or maybe you have something else, maybe a school record, if not a
Okay.
passport, right? You may have something to prove.
Okay. All right. So no, I'm just kind of blown here. Like if someone is leaving their country, in an unplanned way, in a situation where they did not have the time to gather all these documents with them while they were coming to United States of America at the border here. Um, how would, and they probably do not have anybody that they know, right? Or is not able to reach out to people that they know. How would that impact their case?
So yeah, it's interesting. Many times what we do, we actually say that we don't have passports. Sometimes people actually intentionally destroy their passport
Mm,
to just not tell that they have like identity card or something with them, because then you can be traced. Sometimes what happens at the borders, suppose somebody is from maybe Mexico or El Salvador, they lie to the CBP officer say, I'm from Honduras,
Right.
and they destroy their passport intentionally. So nothing
Okay.
happens to the case per se. All you have to do is basically see. Here's the thing: it's a process where USCIS is on your part. USCIS is trying to give you protection against your country. Unless you contravene your statement,
Right.
unless you put yourself in a situation where USCIS doubt your credibility, you will be fine.
Okay.
If you say that you are from Honduras, they will take it.
Okay.
But the process is so lengthy. I've been to many asylum interviews. Asylum interviews can go for a day, meaning I've been there like 8 hours nonstop.
Right.
And if you ask for breaks, they say no sometimes because now they are questioning credibility. And now I've tried many times, like, we need a break because I want to tell my client, what are you doing? You are ruining your case. Now the
Right.
asylum officer was like, no, you cannot take a break. I am done. Give me some time. If you want to go, you can go. I'm going to talk to the client. So sometimes it's so basically here, what we are doing, it's kind of, see, one thing very important to know, asylum and refugees, the program, it's kind of a protection that US is giving you against a third country.
Right.
Okay, so you are saying that I'm in danger. Please protect me. So also, you cannot just say I'm in danger. You have to be in danger because of your race, your nationality, origin, or there are groups, and that's a gray area. You can fit in everything in that group, particular social group. You can
Right.
put anything in that area.
All right.
So we have to then also prove nexus, meaning connection. The harm has to have a connection with your protective grounds. Grounds
Okay.
are these 5 grounds.
Right. Right.
So everything that you say, they will take it as truth unless you contradict your own statement. And that's when you hamper your credibility. Once your credibility is gone, your case is done.
I get it. So one has to be really, really careful about how they speak to in front of a court, in a judge, in front of a judge on in the court. All right, we're
Oh
22
no,
minutes. Yeah, sorry, go
okay.
ahead.
Not the judge, not the court, not USCIS officer, anything. So I have seen many clients come to me and they try to file asylum because somebody told them asylum is, just file a form. They try to file a form, file asylum, and they got denied
Uh-huh.
because they didn't know what to do. I highly recommend when you file asylum, always use an attorney who knows how to file asylum claim,
Right.
because asylum claim is very, very technical, and sometimes attorney don't even know what to do. And
Right.
also the training, meaning the preparation when you go for the interview is so technical and so lengthy, and it's one mistake can ruin your entire case. Now the thing is, once you are denied asylum, you cannot file another asylum application.
Okay. All right.
Okay,
That's really
and
good to know. I really want to move on to the next question here, Ishan. I know we can continue talking about this for hours together, but we are 23 minutes into our discussion. We only have 30 minutes, 7 more minutes left. Very quickly, Priyanka, I want to ask you, does one need a social security number after asylum approval to be able to get work authorization?
So one doesn't need to wait to uh, apply for the social security number till the asylum is approved.
Yeah,
One can actually apply it when he or she applies for the EAD card. So
got it.
social security number you can get it along with your EAD card, or say 2 to 4 weeks after your EAD card.
All right. And then the work authorization itself, do they need to renew it or it's just one and done?
No, you need to renew. Like for asylum seekers, they need to renew. I guess usually USCIS issues it for 2 years.
Okay.
So within 180 days of the 2 year ending period, they can renew it. And the
Right.
first time application, It is after the 180-day clock, I said.
All right, all right. And I guess USCIS just presumes that their case would be adjudicated within that time frame, which clearly
Yes.
doesn't happen, right? All right. Ishan, for the benefit of all the HR professionals who are watching us today and the employers, really, when it comes down to really the nitty-gritties of filing an I-9, right? There are three sections, section 1, 2, and 3. Could you get into a little bit of detail here and explain what are the things that they must be mindful of?
So basically, same thing. So I'm not going to go into details of
Okay.
because they are very basic. They say if you go there, they are like checklists of documents. Section A, these documents provide these documents. Section B, provide these documents. Meaning one of these, there's a list. So, but I would only say make sure you have I-94. Do not just talk about EAD cards because
Mhm.
not all of them would have EAD cards. So if
Okay.
you see I-94, that stamp and that says asylee or says refugee or says employment authorized, just take it and submit it. You will be fine. Just don't just say, okay, we need an employment authorization card and we need to see the receipt that you applied. They don't need that. But yes,
Okay.
if somebody is asylum seeker, that it's the employment authorization card would say C8, then yes, then you need an EAD card. If not, then expired EAD plus the extension application receipt, which was filed before the expiration of the EAD. If you
Got it.
combine these two documents, then you can submit these two documents with the identity card. You will be fine.
All right. I want to come down to receipt rules in a little bit, but Priyanka, my next question is for you. For the work permit, what is the fee structure like? How much do they have to pay?
So the first initial work permit, it's no fees for that. And
Okay.
for renewals, it's 410,
All right.
$410.
All
Yes.
right. All right. So, Ishan, I wanted to talk to you about the receipt rules, right? And I wanted to talk to you about receipt rules for refugees in particular. And if you could also go into the other two categories and explain the receipt rules for them.
Receipt, I don't understand the question. The receipt rule meaning like what? Because see, refugee again, refugees don't receive anything. They receive
Okay.
that they enter the country and at the borders they receive the I-94,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I don't know what kind of receipt we are talking about here, but the identity document that they have is their passport and the stamp on their passport that says refugee.
Okay.
And with the refugee, it always say employment authorized. And for the first 90 days, you can use that document to show that you are authorized to work. And within 90 days, you always get the EAD card at your address because when you enter the country, right? They ask
Right.
you for your address. Where will you go? Where will you,
Right.
what's your address? So when you give them the address, you will get the card at your address. And same thing for asylees or asylum seekers. I don't know if you're talking about receipt of 589 receipt or what kind of receipt, but if it's 589 receipt,
Yeah.
then your 589 receipt is like just pending asylum. So that is useful to calculate the number of days that 589 is pending. Number
Okay.
two, when you file employment authorization application, that's 765. That's important to see when the USCIS received the application so that you can match up that receipt notice with your EAD card. If it's filed before the expiration of your current EAD, then you are automatically extended to work for the next 540 days.
Got it. All right. Now, one question, and I would probably call it the last question of the discussion today. Is the work authorization tied to a job in particular? And also, how long can an asylee or refugee or an asylum seeker stay on EAD without a job?
Okay, so EADs for asylees and refugees are not tied up to anything. They are free to work, they are free to live. They can even apply for public benefits. They can they can go and apply for food stamps and everything. So they are fine. So what was the other question you had?
So the other question was, how long can an asylee, an asylum seeker, or a refugee, how long can they stay on an EAD without a job? In case they do not have a job, can they? Does it have any ties
No
with the?
problem.
Okay,
No problem. No problem. You don't have to have a job. It's not an employment-based status.
right.
It's a protective status you get from the U.S. government. You don't
All
have
right.
to work, or you don't have to show that you are in status by being in the job now.
All right. Thank you so much. You've probably cleared a lot of doubts, a lot of basic doubts that people have, while they work with this particular category of, of asylum seekers, asylees, and refugees here in the United States of America, and an important part of our community, really. This brings us to the end of our discussion today. I want to thank Attorney Ishan, Anand, and Associate Attorney Priyanka.Sule for their time, and also to you for joining us today. And if you have any questions for us, please send them to us, info@chugh.com. That's info at chugh.com. Or if you have any suggestions for us, if you want any particular topic that you want us to talk about, we'll be more than happy to do that for you. Until next time, this is Neha Mahajan signing off. See you then.